Hello good people, and welcome back to another episode of Tech Critter Reviews. And this week we're taking a look at the ASUS latest TUF Gaming laptop, which sports the new AMD 4000 series CPU. Without further ado, let us dive straight into the review. With the official release of the AMD's 4000 series mobile CPU, that means that companies are started to announce their laptops that equip with the new AMD's Ryzen CPUs. Of course, right after the Zephyrus G14 is the TUF Gaming A15. Now, although they have changed the naming a little bit with TUF Gaming A15, it's said that they are still using the code name FA506. That means that the chassis has a little bit of update compared to the previous generation, which is known as the FX505. Now the A15 has the new changes in terms of its aesthetics. First of all, the aluminium lid now has a smooth sandblasted finish to it, and they have finally made up their mind to actually use the TUF Gaming logo instead of ASUS. Now it is an obvious choice if you want to bring up this TUF Gaming branding among the gamers. Secondly, which I don't really think it is a much worth mentioning feature, which is the Honeycomb Design surrounding the vents and the input. Now, even though they have said that this is to actually improve the thermal capabilities of this laptop, one thing I still don't understand is that why they are not letting more air going in under the chassis over here. Consider looking at that, there are still plenty of spaces that they are purposely left blocked out. So, unless they have plans saying that how the air will channel through different routes and then going back out from the rear of the vents over here. But judging from how it looks like under here, it doesn't look really that good. And one of the most welcome upgrade is of course the display. Compared to the previous generation where it is a mix of 60Hz, 120Hz and 144Hz across the Intel and AMD models, this time, they have decided to stick with 144Hz across all the different SKUs. Now, they still have a reasonably narrow bezel, and they managed to put a webcam on top of the bezel instead of sacrificing it or putting it underneath as a nose-drill webcam. So this 144Hz high refresh rate display is not exactly color accurate. Brightness can be a little bit dim if you used to bringing your laptops going out to cafes and somewhere else. But all of those is not entirely important when it comes to games. High refresh rate is always more important than the color accuracy. So if you are content creators, photographers or videographers who are looking for editing laptops like this, you might want to look for some other models or otherwise invest in a color accurate external monitor instead. I have a very positive typing experience with this keyboard. It has good travel distance and the tactile feedback is very good as well. For those who cannot live without a number pad, well, the ASUS TUF Gaming A15 fits into your requirements because it actually offers a full number pad. Although the size of the key is a little bit small, but it is better than none. As for the backlit, yes, you do get RGB backlit, just that it is a single zone RGB instead of per key or 4 zone. Now the Apero cluster is, although it's a bit slightly smaller compared to the previous generation, I will consider this is a good upgrade because the previous generation has the Apero cluster blends into the rest of the keyboard, which I always mispress. As for the trackpad, it is a very good one. Thanks to the smooth matte surface and Windows Precision driver, finger and gesture tracking is right on the spot. Overall, the user experience is very positive. Now, going around the laptop, on the left side, we do have the charging barrel port, a Gigabit Ethernet, HDMI, 2 USB Type-A ports and 1 USB Type-C port. Now, last but not least is of course the 3.5mm audio combo jack. Now, moving on to the right hand side, we do get a single USB Type-A port, but something that we are not expecting is that this USB Type-A port only comes at USB 2.0 speed. Well, I'm not too sure how expensive it is to put a 3.2 Gen 1 ports over here, but at least it is useful for you to connect your peripherals. Unfortunately, this laptop doesn't come with any SD card or micro SD card readers. For a laptop of this thickness, I was expecting them to come with a card reader. Now here's the part you guys has been waiting for. The actual performance of the Ryzen 7 4800H. The 4800H and the HS variants performs very similarly, with a little bit somewhere around 5% of the difference. Of course, that is a given, consider that they are basically the same chip except the S variant comes with a 10 watt lower TDP. That one should contribute to a lower heat output. Then comes to Intel 9750H. The AMD chip, for obvious reasons, has more cores. That means multi-core performance is better than Intel's. But one thing we are glad to see is that the single core performance from the AMD side has finally matched up with Intel's. In other words, we are really happy to see AMD finally has a solution that can really pit against the Intel offerings. As for the GPU, the TUF Gaming A15 we have in our labs come with the NVIDIA RTX 2060, not the MacLeod variant, mind you that. But of course, we have to take extra note when it comes to the actual performance. In terms of the actual performance, as you can see from the graph over here, it performs slightly better than the Zephyrus G14, which has the RTX 2060 MacLeod. However, the extra performance comes at the price of the higher maximum temperature. Speaking of the temperature, we were shocked to learn that the AMD Ryzen 7 4800H managed to reach a whopping 106 Celsius degrees in games like Final Fantasy 15 as well as Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Now, of course, the maximum temperature doesn't mean that the chip stays at that temperature throughout the whole gaming session, because based on the hardware info log we have seen is that the average temperature is just somewhere around 80 to 90 degrees, but for some reason the maximum temperature sometimes just spike up over 100 degrees Celsius. This is usually caused by the sudden spike in terms of the CPU processing, which translates to the higher temperature output within that brief moment. All in all, looking at the average temperature, we can say that the TUF Gaming A15 is good enough controlling the temperatures of both Ryzen 7 4800H as well as the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2060. Just that it has no way to handle the sudden spike in the demands of the CPU, which also translates to the higher maximum temperature of the GPU side as well. The TUF Gaming A15 is very easy to upgrade. There are 2 RAM slots as well as 2 M.2 slots for users to choose their own upgrade path. Malaysian models has come with a smaller battery at 48 Wh compared to some other global variants with 90 or 92 Wh batteries. The reason why the Malaysian model has a smaller battery is because ASUS Malaysia has opted for an extra 2.5-inch hard disk mount so that users can actually either choose an M.2 drive or a cheaper 2.5-inch hard disk or SSD. And now with that said, the 48 Wh battery is not exactly big for especially a device with this kind of gaming capabilities. And even with our daily usage, just lightweight web browsing, photo editing, and including the time I spent to write the review, this review particularly on this laptop, I only managed to squeeze out somewhere around 2 hours and 30 minutes of the battery life from a single charge. So in other words, if you ever want to bring this laptop out, the charging brick will have to go along with you, otherwise it won't last more than that. Last but not least, we have to talk about the price. The top of the line specs we have here comes at the official price tag of 5,599 ringgit Malaysia, or it is $1,200 if you're in the US. If you tell me this is an Intel i7 based system with RTX 2060 GPU, I would say 5,599 ringgit is a same price as the previous generation. Just that while we all know that AMD so far has been pushing on the lower price tag but higher performance kind of strategy, looking at the price, it doesn't really translate towards that direction. because some people are actually expecting around 300 to 500 ringgit cheaper compared to the Intel ones. Now, since we don't have any other competitors releasing their AMD based gaming system with RTX 2060 chips, so we can't really compare them side by side. Looking at the plus point, we do get a very good build quality out of the chassis itself, a fast 144Hz display, although it is not entirely color accurate, but hey, it is a gaming laptop anyway. And most importantly, the performance from the Ryzen 7 for the 800H as well as the RTX 2060. And of course, we have 16 gigs of 3200 MHz RAMs as well as 512 GB of SSD, and that extra slots of M.2 and a SATA 2.5-inch drive bay. All in all, it is a good choice if you're looking for a budget-based gaming laptop. Otherwise, do let us know what did you guys think about the new ASUS TUF Gaming A15. Leave a like, leave a comment if you have anything to say. We'll reply as soon as possible. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye. NVIDIA R4 GTX.